Good evening. I'm going to show you how to use numbers, which is Apple's version of Excel, more or less, to create a simple tool for keeping track of students' grades, tracking growth. As an EBD teacher, I actually use this from time to time, tracking behaviors. But today, what I'm going to do is a simple example of maybe 4 kids in a class taking a few tests and tracking their scores. So in my class, I have Johnny, Jimmy, Jane, and Jojo. And I'm going to test them 4 times, once each quarter, just to keep things simple. So what I'm doing is, in row 1 up here at the top, I create the different tests. And in column A, I have the students. And so what I'm going to be doing then is Johnny's quarter 1 score will be in cell B2. And so let's say, insert some scores here. Johnny does all right. Jimmy is squeaking by here. And Jane did outstanding. Jojo did very well. So that's my first test, and I've put the scores in as a percent already. Now, if I want to figure out what the average score was on that first test, I can actually just highlight the 4 scores, click on Formula, scroll down, and click Average. Now it's going to put that average in the cell just underneath the last score. Now I'm going to go to the first column and title what that row is really going to be. Now when you're making a chart sometimes, or a table, excuse me, you want to make it look nice, so you might decide to put borders around it. So over on the right side of the screen, you've got 4 options here with table, cell, text, and arrange. To put borders on our table, we want to go to cell. And as you can see, I've highlighted what will be the entire table at this point. Now if I click all borders here, you're not really going to notice the difference because Numbers already has in these lines showing where the cells are. But if I print it out, I probably will be able to see that now. But for the sake of doing my work here, I want to be able to see those. So I'm going to click again to have borders on every edge of the cell. And then I'm going to change the thickness just so I can see it a little bit. 2 points will be just enough. Now, sometimes, if you have, let's say specifically I'm concerned about the average score, I might highlight this row, click over on the text tab here, and say change the color of the text. Now you might find that when you try to change the color, you get different options for ways to do that. You can scroll through those tabs at the top there and to get the exact color you desire. Now I've created this formula on in cell B6, but actually what I want is to have that formula in cell C6 and D6 and E6. So instead of having to highlight these cells and click the formula button again, which in this instance wouldn't take too much time because there's not a lot of data, but let's say I'm doing a lot of data. Maybe I have a test every day that I want to chart and keep track of. If I highlight the cell that I've got the formula in, oopsies, I've started editing it here, so I'm just going to cancel out of that. I'm going to click on I'm going to make the same mistake again before I hold my cursor over the right side where I get this yellow circle. It might be a little hard to see, but when you scroll over it, you'll get this icon on your cursor. You want to click, and you just want to drag that over to the right as far as you want that. Now, each one of these cells is going to have that formula. So when I start inserting numbers on the second test, Johnny does a little bit better. You can see that the average immediately shows up as I insert scores. Jimmy is consistently improving. Nice to see Jimmy. Jane falters a little bit, but still in that nice A range. And JoJo sees a bit of a slide here as well. All right, I'm going to go ahead and insert some scores in here for everyone else for the third quarter as well. And again for the fourth quarter. So we have our table completed, and fortunately Jane does not do so well in the fourth quarter. JoJo remains consistent. So now I've got my table complete. Sometimes we want to present this data, probably not student scores, but you can, if you highlight the entire table here, you can click the chart button, and you've got options for what type of chart is best, and there are many of them. And if you want color or grayscale, I'm just going to go ahead and pick a simple bar graph here, which actually, now that I think about it, now I see the way that looks, that might be a little more confusing. So maybe we want lines here. Let me go back to the beginning here. Maybe we want lines to chart some of their growth over time. And I'm not sure what this one is. If I want to check what data I'm looking at, I can click that button. Let me go back so I can show what that was here. It says add chart data. If I go back and highlight, there we go. Oops. I'm not getting the results I want, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and delete those and start from the beginning so I can show you the right way. What you should do is highlight the entire graph, the entire table, click the graph you want, and then you're going to get a graph that looks much better. All right, and that's how you do it. Thanks.